Hey, it's Kendall with Blackovis, and I am talking about Crispi boots today. This is part 3 of our series of the different, we're calling them families of Crispi boots. And one of the main questions I get asked a lot, or that we get asked, or some of our gear guides get asked, is what is that one boot that can do anything most everything that I want it to do? So this is a category I'm calling the all mountain. And the reason being is each one of these boots in front of me that I'm going to go over here in 2 seconds is a boot that I personally have used or would categorize as a boot that could do basically just about everything. There's plenty of boots in the Crispi lineup that are very unique, like Laponia is a very unique fast and light. You notice it's not here in front of me, even though some guys will push that and use that their entire season. What I'm looking for, what I want to highlight, and hopefully this helps you come to a decision on what boot fits your needs, is a boot that you can basically use from 1st of September. You could use it in the summer, probably putting up trail cameras and scouting, doing some training hikes. You could use it all the way into mid-November. So whether you're a rifle hunter, muzzleloader, you're shed hunting in the spring, or you're a bow hunter, these are boots that you could have kind of as that one trick pony. So let's dive into each one. I'll give a brief overview of the boot and which boot, what I've used that boot for. So over my left, we've got we've got Wyoming and Idaho, big brother, little brother. One of the unique things about these boots, both of them utilize suede leather, utilize Cordura in various forms, utilize PU Tech, which is this material here that has a little bit of an embossing or just a different look to it. The Cordura is found in the tongue of both the Wyoming and the Idaho. Both of them use this framework here on the Cordura. This is fused into the PU Tech, which is a Cordura base with polyurethane woven through it. Both of these have the new updated EFX midsole from Crispi, and both of them use the Mega Grip Vibram sole that Crispi is very well known for. Each of them have polyurethane coated leather covered by a rubber ram that surrounds the entire boot. And all of these boots, actually, every single one of these uses the ABSS, the ankle bone support system that Crispi is very well known for. The reason both of these boots, and I've used both of them, and in particular I've used the Wyoming because I favor a little bit lower boot. I don't necessarily love the tall 10-inch boot as my go-to. But I used this Wyoming in one season from all the TAC events, archery shooting up in Idaho at the event that we went up there, up in the Northwest Mountain Challenge. I've used it in bow season in Colorado, elk in Idaho, elk in Utah. Use it into kind of a more of a rifle hunting with a gator. I would just increase my sock and go to a full cushion midweight sock. And then I remember rounding out my season chukar hunting here in Utah in December, January, and the first bit of February. I did notice that when it was really cold, I would slow down and stop and be sitting. And like I remember having lunch with my pup, and about an hour into that, definitely got cold feet, wanted to keep moving. So that's where the extreme of this boot, you start to get, of course, you have a really good ventilation. But as far as do everything, go anywhere, steep, mellow, they're great for walking on flats, rolling hills. I think for an upland boot, these are definitely should be on the radar. These are boots, the Idaho and the Wyoming, that you could basically say this is an all-mountain boot. It can do everything, go everywhere. So those are the first two in this collection. Let's jump into the next two. We've got Nevada and Guide in the non-insulated version. I wouldn't throw the insulated in as a boot that you could do everywhere. I was talking to a guy yesterday in the storefront here at the Blackovis headquarters, and he said that he runs the Guide all year round. Summer, like I just think that's a little too hot in the insulated. He says he likes that lightly insulated, his feet don't get overheated. But for most guys, if you're looking at Nevada and Guide, this is gonna be the non-insulated version. All leather, ABSS. This uses the dual density polyurethane midsole, the classic, also the Mega Grip sole on both of these. Rubber ram that surrounds the entire boot on both of them. ABSS, like I said before, full leather in the tongue, all the way up the top, locking lace loop on the corner of both of them. Honestly, I mean, I've said this a ton of times, the Nevada and the Guide, I remember putting the Guide on for the first time. It's the only boot in this lineup that I've not used in the mountains. I've only tried this one on and walked around here in the shop. Felt like my feet were on clouds. I absolutely understand why a lot of guys love this boot. With the extra height over the Nevada, I definitely feel like I could be a stormtrooper kicking indoors, taking aims later. But Nevada is really my flavor. I like this height. I come back to Nevada more often and regret having not used it more often. I get pretty excited about using a lot of the other Crispi boots, but the Nevada is really that come home, just comfortable feeling day in, day out. You can absolutely trust that this boot's gonna do everything that it's advertised to do. So these boots, you can take them everywhere and just about anywhere. Sure, you've got some of those extreme hunts, like maybe a light and fast antelope spot and stock with your bow, or you've got maybe a sheep hunt. I know guys that have taken the Guide on sheep hunts in Alaska, moose hunts in Alaska. It does just fine. The 3 Flex, which is also the Wyoming, Idaho, the Nevada and Guide are just a fantastic do everything, go everywhere. If this is your first boot purchase, I would highly recommend sticking in this category. You can certainly add a second boot for those rare off seasons, whether that be later, like you jump into like Wild Rock, or early you jump into maybe an Altitude or a Laponia, or maybe a Summit, or maybe even a Valdez. But couldn't recommend these anymore. Certainly right at home here in the all mountain category from Crispi. The next boot right here in the middle, this is the Crispi Colorado GTX. The Colorado is a fantastic boot. This is the Colorado 2, the earlier version. Only used Cordura. This was replaced with a PU Tech Cordura in the side panels here. And on the inside panels there, stitching got changed, a little bit color hit. Definitely has a different mid than from any of these boots other than the Brickstall at the end. The Brickstall and the Colorado share this dual density polyurethane midsole, which Vibram uses and makes. Vibram sole on the bottom, a little different tread, a little more aggressive, I think, and a little sharper or more succinct on the edges. And I feel like the Colorado and its bigger brother, the Brickstall, with this sole, you just get a little bit more edging control, particularly when you go into steep terrain. This is a 3 Flex boot. I personally think it flexes just a little bit more, probably a 3.5 if I really had to get super particular. ABSS, Cordura up the tongue. This is a non-insulated boot. It breathes exceptionally well. And honestly, if I was going to pair this with anything, I'd pair it with the Nevada. But I do believe that the Colorado could stand on its own. I've got one of the guys here in our marketing team. This is the boot that he uses from early season archery here in Utah, which starts in mid-August. This is what he's using for scouting. And I know he hunts extended archery here in Utah. He hunts rifle, cow elk hunt. I was on a cow elk hunt with him in December. We were in the snow. He had to run a gator. He bumped up his sock as well to a mid-weight full cushion sock. Totally fine. I've used this boot. I used it a few seasons ago exclusively, again, from beginning of the season to end of season. Really just kind of pushing it on those very, very, very cold rifle hunts is probably the only time you're going to find the Colorado might be just a hair outside of its limitation. But the Colorado is really, and the reason, I mean, I put it right here in the middle because it is an anchor and definitely an all-mountain, do-everything boot. Next boot up is the Crispi Keenai. Crispi Keenai is a different boot that you don't see anywhere but at Blackovis, an exclusive boot that we do with Crispi. It uses a full grain leather, different from the Nubuck, so it's essentially a Nevada on full grain leather and with the new EFX midsole. It's got a full rubber rand, it's got the ABSS, it's got leather on the inside, the calfskin leather on the inside, just like the Nevada. This is a non-insulated boot. Probably its weak point is the early season. It's going to breathe the same as Nevada, but I think that full grain, I just feel like it's a little bit more of a water like or snow type used leather. But the Keenai could be that one boot that does everything, particularly if you're in like Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, maybe up in Canada, in those areas where it's very rugged, it's a little bit cooler in that early season, and it's definitely cooler later in the season. I think the Keenai is really a fantastic option. Gets overlooked a lot because it's unique to Blackovis only. So you're not going to see this out in the marketplace except for at Blackovis. Definitely an all-mountain boot. Next two boots are from the Brickstall family. Let's jump into the Brickstall. This is the non-insulated version. Crispi has done away with the insulated version. The Brickstall is a meaty boot, definitely a mountain hungry. As far as the flex rating goes on all these boots, they're all 3 except for the Brickstall, which is a 4 flex. Hunted with this one in Alaska twice. I've hunted here in Utah, in Idaho. Was on a hunt in Wyoming where I was wearing Nevada. My hunting partner was wearing Brickstall, and one of the things he commented, which has stuck with me, is how well the Brickstall does on rolling terrain, on varied kind of like timber, we're jumping through a lot of timber, and on the really steep stuff where you're kind of heading up a face, really trying to get to the glassing point. At a 4 flex, that's where it's really digging in and you get good purchase, but it's still comfortable enough and still flexes enough in the toe that you can use this on just about every terrain. The Brickstall has the stretch nylon through the tongue that breathes extremely well, full leather around the outside, rubber rand around the whole outside. It has 3 lace loops on the very upper, so it's a 9-inch versus an 8-inch. It's that in-betweener between the like Keenai, for example, and let's say Guide or Nevada Guide. The top of the boot, you see it angles down. Very different from Guide, which is more of a flat top, and Nevada and Keenai, which also do the same thing. You can see those side by side, just the difference on this on the top there. So you're going to feel a little bit like that's one of the things I think makes it versatile is as you're going up and down terrain, that top being the back of it being like slanted down is not going to really dig into like the Achilles or the top of your or the bottom of your calf muscle. But Brickstall is certainly, a lot of guys talk, and we talk about it as more of a sheep and goat and rugged terrain type boot. But quite frankly, if you like a little bit stiffer boot and that's really your jam, and this boot fits your foot, this is a true all-mountain, do everything, go anywhere. You're certainly not going to stock antelope in this bad boy, and you're going to be pulling this thing off to go on stalks or mule deer that are bedded in the early season. But for getting you from trailhead to campsite to glassing point, down into the depths of wherever you're finding these bucks or these elk, and then slipping them off, going on your stock, and then packing out, the Brickstall is very well suited. And I absolutely love this boot. I think it's got more going on than most people recognize. Last boot, Brickstall Mountain. I definitely I saved this one for last because it is the newest of all these boots in what I would call the Crispi all mountain category. Brickstall Mountain really surprised me. At a 3 flex, this boot behaves almost like a 4 flex. It's got the new EFX midsole. It uses the Mega Grip outsole on the bottom. Full rubber rand all the way around. It's got PU Tech framing here in this panel for added breathability. This is a non-insulated boot. PU Tech in the upper around the ankle bone area. It also has the ABSS, so not only are you getting additional support from this here, the PU Tech fabric, you're lightening it up, but then you're reinforcing with ABSS around your ankle. Stretch nylon through the tongue. Again, same angle on the Brickstall family. It slopes down, even though you've got the 9-inch right here. You really have an 8-inch on the backside, which is pretty fantastic. Took this boot. I used it last year in the early season. Used it in the summer prep, and then used it in Canada on my mountain goat hunt with my friend Aaron. And this boot absolutely surprised me. I thought it would not be as versatile as I thought it was going to definitely be for just the steeps. But this boot, it's probably is like right up there with Colorado as it can do everything. It can absolutely do any mountain terrain, light, mellow, steep, rocky, rugged, timber laden, jumping over logs. The Brickstall Mountain as a non-insulated. One thing to note, this is not a leather, it's a synthetic. So should this get wet, it's not going to absorb as much water as say like the nubuck on the Nevada. It's going to dry out faster. That's one really neat thing about the Brickstall Mountain. So I hope this has been interesting as you think about what kind of terrain you're looking to hunt, what kind of boot you want. A lot of guys out there, most guys can't afford to drop $800 on 2 separate boots. So if there's one boot that you're looking for, you should stay right here in this all mountain category, unless you're one of those guys that wants to take a boot like the Altitude, like Laponia, maybe like Wild Rock, and you're gonna use that and push that through all season, even though there's gonna be some uncomfortable times or maybe some times where it's not quite as solid. But these boots in the all mountain category are my picks for that one boot that can do just about anything. I hope this video has been interesting, or at least if you've gotten this far, I hope it's been valuable and that you get a little closer to making a decision on what is the perfect Crispi boot for that one boot that can take you through all your hunting.